Hey y'all, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about one of the most popular phrases in writing, which is show, don't tell. We're going to talk to you guys about the times when you should show and you should tell, because there's a time for everything, even telling. Hard to believe. So we'll tell you all about it.
First, we're going to tell you about when you should tell, because honestly, it's the least important. We want to save the good stuff for last. Pleasantries and mundane conversation. There's no real way to show a hi, how you doing, how's your family, how's your mom and them, how's the weather, all that. There's no good way to show it without just saying it, so that's okay. However, you want to keep that pleasantry and mundane conversation to a minimum, because that's exactly what it is mundane.
People forget all the time when they're writing that you can just say, they exchange pleasantries. And that is a perfectly acceptable sentence. Moving on, who cares? On to the next thing. Along with the mundane, the other thing, and this totally drives me crazy when I see authors do this, is you've shown something go down. And now the main character has to go and tell another character what went down. And you do it step by step.
Waste of time.
Why?
Total waste of time.
We were there. We know. Bobby went and told Joe what just went down. That's the sentence. We're good. We already know what went down as the readers, so we don't need to go into those details all over again. You could put some emotion maybe behind it. After Bobby told Joe everything that went down, Bobby's mouth was gaping open and his eyes were wide. Oh gosh, he was really surprised that, you killed a dragon. Easy.
Sometimes when you're writing, you need to include a little backstory so that your readers understand what brought the characters to this point. And sometimes you might want to use a flashback. I personally enjoy flashbacks. I like reading them. I like writing them. But when you do use them, don't just throw it at the reader. Don't start a chapter with it. It's jarring to the reader. It's confusing. So when you do use them correctly. But most of the time, you could really probably just to the point, this is what happened, blah, 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 done.
The other thing you want to watch with this is backstories are infamous for becoming info dumps. You just need to give pieces. Not every little detail, even though you love it so much as a writer, is necessary for the reader to move on in the story and get a good firm grip of what the stakes are, what the plot is, what is going to happen here. Our characters are going to have to wear clothes. I get it. But when we go into these little details, and we've talked about this before in rant videos, it drives us insane. I think there's an easy way to tell the reader and give them a sense of your character's style or the style of whatever kind of era you're putting them in by just dropping a couple articles of clothing. So for instance, if you have a character that really loves music, maybe he wears all too famous band t-shirt. And then to give an idea that he is, kind of really laid back, he has holey jeans. So his band t-shirt and his holey jeans. Good, I've got a good idea. Most likely my next thing is, in my mind, when I'm picturing him, I'm already going to picture he's wearing Vans or Converse. He's going to be wearing shoes that kind of go with this outfit. I'm not picturing him in dress shoes. You've given me enough information as a reader that I can fill in the blanks of his wardrobe, and going forward in the story, I've got it.
On to the fun things, which are the things that you need to show the reader. That's what writing is all about, is showing the details in a way that is vivid and descriptive and making the reader think that they are right there. One of the most important things to us is character traits. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to say, David had a short fuse. Cool, great, that's awesome. What you want to do instead is you want to show David blowing up and getting angry and blowing his top. That's what you want to do. And then the reader is smart enough to say, dang, he has a short fuse. He's got bad temper.
Anything outside of the norm. I think of this as we'll do it as weddings, because I always think weddings are very outside the norm. And when you say there was an elaborate wedding, or it was an over-the-top wedding, what was over the top about it? Was there elephants there? What is it that made it over the top? If you start explaining that, you know, they got 3 elephants and there was, you know, a team of acrobats there, and during the, you know, exchanging of rings, this celebrity, you know, came out and sang a song, I can figure out as a reader, holy smokes, that is over the top. But when you just tell it to me, it's not impactful. It was an over the top wedding. Really? Because I'm just probably going to picture a normal wedding. And is a normal wedding really over the top? I mean, that's a big statement to make. It's over the top. So if you're going to have an over the top wedding, show how it's over the top. The other thing, this goes back into clothing, is this is a moment that's outside of the norm. And I think for a lot of readers, especially those like me who like clothing, I want to know what the dress looked like. Yeah. So this is a great time to spend a moment on the dress and explain some really fine details of the dress, so I can really picture this great wedding moment.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. Emotions. Emotions are one of my favorite things to write. For someone who is not super emotional, it might be hard to do that. So that's going to be something that you as a writer are really going to have to take the time to figure out how to do. If you don't naturally exude your emotions like I do, I know everybody doesn't do that. So it's one of those things that you will have to work at, but it's one of those things that is so important for your story. Emotions are so much more impactful when they're shown. Jim Bob was really sad and he was crying. How did he feel? How did that sadness make him feel? What were the things that were weighing on him? What impact did his emotions have on the people around him? How was he crying? I mean, good Lord, you could up that sentence with a simple sobbing, weeping, to show what you're talking about instead of just saying it.
It comes back to using the 5 senses. When you're sad, what are those feelings? Like the pit of you have like a heaviness maybe in your chest, or your shoulder slump. These are the kind of things that you want to get into. You want to avoid any type of telling words. So for instance, she saw, she thought, she felt, she knew. Steer away from these when you're really trying to write an impactful emotional scene. It is a given that certain things are happening and this is the way she is feeling. So we're really trying to hit on those things like Rachel was saying with, you know, he was weeping, he fell to his knees, grasped his stomach, and tears flowed from his eyes, dripping on the front of his shirt. Like, you would get the idea that this is a really tragic moment for this person, that they've literally lost their ability to stand. That's what you want to talk about, instead of him, he felt so overwhelmed he dropped to his knees. No, just explain it. Just go on to all the everything going on with him, with the feelings, and you'll get there, and it'll be much more impactful than what it was by using those telling words. The next one is kind of more my forte, so I'm really excited to talk about this one, which is fight scenes or any kind of physically draining moment. These are the times that you really want to do kind of the same thing that you do with the emotions. You want to make sure that you're using really strong verbs. So instead of being like, he swung his sword really fast, maybe he thrusted the sword. I mean, so you want to look at your strong verbs and kind of stick away from your adverbs in this moment to make them more impactful when you're talking about a fight scene. Instead of she fell to the ground, you know, she dropped to the ground, she smashed. Any type of these things, her head hit the ground, her head thudded against the ground. I mean, these are things that you're feeling it, you're hearing it, so you really want to use those strong verbs in this moment. Fight scenes are something that you really want to show and not tell, because it's boring.
Learning to show and not tell is something that is going to take your writing to a whole nother level. So we really hope that you can take some of the things that we talked about today and apply them to whatever your work in progress is at the moment.
Ooh, your whip.
Your whip.
Whip it good. You can read all of our stories, which we hope we did a great job of showing and not telling, on Wattpad for free at Crystal and Felicity.
And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you don't miss one of our Friday uploads.
And as always, write what you love. Bye.